Hey, what's going on, y'all? We are back with another major update actually today. So, I'm going to talk about two different quarterbacks. The first one is a quarterback that just jumped into the transfer portal today. The second one is a quarterback that starting to hear rumors about him potentially wanting to look at the Hurricanes for a potential landing spot. So, let's first get into the big news, which is we heard about Carson Beck going to the draft, but apparently he's changed his course. He's jumping to the transfer portal. So he's a quarterback from Georgia. We all know who Carson Beck is, right? Quarterback from Georgia. I'm going to read a quick little part from an article that was written. The article is titled "Sources: Georgia quarterback Carson Beck plans to enter transfer portal." I'm going to read just a little part of it here. It says Beck had declared for the NFL draft on December 28th, but is now reversing course and will explore a transfer. Sources told ESPN that our Miami Hurricanes, looms as a favorite for Beck, and the timeline for his decision is expected to be within a week. While Miami is the favorite for Beck, a source said Beck's camp intends to listen to all potential suitors for the best situation. It's a strategic thing, not an emotional thing, the source said. So let's jump into, before we get into the next quarterback, let's talk quite a bit on this one here. I've already made my thoughts well known on Carson Beck. I did a video about a week or so ago talking about the quarterbacks that I would really love to land. Like, I would love to get Ewers from Texas. I would have loved to get Mateer. I thought he was a really outstanding quarterback. Carson Beck, I'm not a huge fan of it, man. I hate to say, I've got plenty of reasons why, and we'll get into those. The reasons why I'm not a huge fan, well, first let me say this. The current situation that we have, Carson Beck is a definite upgrade. So let's just go ahead and say that. If we were to bring Carson Beck in today, I would be happy with it just because it's a major upgrade. But whenever I look at the other quarterbacks who are out there or who were out there, I don't think that we killed it as much as I would have loved to kill it. I think it would almost be like settling Carson Beck. But my issues is I don't feel like, we all know Carson Beck plays at Georgia, and Georgia is stacked all across the board. Their offensive line is crazy good. Their defensive line is ridiculously good, so they get the ball. Their defense is great, so they get the ball back for the offense consistently in good field position. Their receivers, they got weapons at the skill positions all over the place, running back, receivers, tight end. They just got the full package. And I feel like if you don't perform extremely well at a school like that, how well would you do at a school that doesn't have crazy depth and five-star athletes all over the place? That's where my concern is. Is Miami talented? Yes, but we do not have nearly the depth that Georgia has on either side of the ball where it comes to defensive line, offensive line, safeties, running backs. Like, we're just nowhere near as talented with our depth as Georgia is. So the fact that when you're looking at his stats, there's one thing that just jumps off the page at me, and that is the fact that he had 28 touchdowns, which is pretty good, but he had 12 interceptions. That's almost a 1-to-2 ratio, which is a big concern. I always say that you want to be like at a 3.5-to-1 ratio when it comes to touchdowns and interceptions. To have 28 touchdowns and 12 interceptions is a huge, major red flag to me, especially when you play on a team that has so many weapons all over the field. So let's jump into the positives again. One of the major positives, obviously, is that he's got championship experience. He's played in the SEC. He's played in SEC championship games. He played national. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's been there and seen all of that, basically. So he wouldn't walk into any huddle wide-eyed and shook playing for the Hurricanes. He should be able to bring a sense of calm, a sense of, relax, we cool. He should be able to bring that into a huddle, right? So I think that's a huge positive. He threw for 3,500 yards almost, which is also really, really impressive, especially in the SEC. So, again, I would be happy with bringing Carson back in, but I would also feel a little bit down on the fact that we didn't get a different quarterback. I thought John Mateer was the only game changer in the entire transfer portal this year, but then I had Quinn Ewers on that second tier, and then I had Carson Beck on that third tier, mainly just because of his experience. I hate the fact that he threw so many interceptions. I hate it. But that's just my thoughts on that. I do think that he's a major upgrade from what we currently have. All right, so let's talk about the second quarterback. I was watching Rock Boys channel, which I'm a huge fan of theirs. If you haven't heard of them, it's ROC Boys, Rock Boys. I'm a big fan of theirs. I watched their channel just the other day, and they talked about a couple of quarterbacks that the Hurricanes might be going after. And one of those quarterbacks they mentioned was Matthew Sluka. If you know anything about Matthew Sluka, he transferred from Holy Cross, I believe it was, and he ended up playing for UNLV. Now, people were talking about Cam Ward quitting on the Hurricanes during the Pop-Tart Bowl. If you want to know anything about quitting, I say just look into Matthew Sluka's this past season. My man was leading an undefeated team. He was a starting quarterback, and he just stopped playing. Why? Because his NIL deals were doing some funny stuff. So I can understand when they play with your money, sometimes you're like, man, I got to be done with this. But when your team is dependent upon you and you got an undefeated season, it looks really bad when the quarterback just says, y'all know what? I'm cool. I'm done. I'm getting out of here. I think they were like 4 or 5 games, I think 4 games into the season when he did that. So that's my first huge, major, drastic red flag. Please do not get Matthew Sluka. I don't want to speak for y'all, but I'm telling you, I do not want Matthew Sluka on the team. If it came down to him or Emory or Judd or any other quarterback on our roster, I would say, let's go with what we got on the roster. Let's just go ahead and roll the dice what we got. We can't go with Matthew Sluka. Another issue with him, he does love to run the ball and he runs it really well. But when your completion percentage is below 50%, especially in college football, that's a problem. When it's almost 40%, that is a major problem. So his completion percentage was 43.8, which is one of the worst that you'll find in Division I football. Terrible. He was 21 for 48, and he threw for 318 yards, 6 touchdowns and 1 interception. So he had a 6 touchdown to 1 interception ratio, which is nice, 6-1. But when you only have 44% completion percentage, that is bad football. So I don't even really care to talk about Matthew Sluka much more than that. Let me know what y'all's thoughts on that. If it came down to Matthew Sluka or Emory Williams, which one would you go with? I'm going Emory 100% of the time. I do not want anything to do with somebody who had an undefeated season, whose team was dependent upon him because he was the starting quarterback, and then he just says, I'm good, I'm done playing. I'm serious about my money too, but I can't roll like that. So those are the 2 quarterbacks that we got updates on today, y'all. If you're wondering, because I'm in this weird sitting position, I'm actually sitting on the floor in one of the rooms in the hospital. So this is one of the quiet spaces I could find. So you got to get in where you fit in, right? But yeah, man, this Carson Beck thing I think is a pretty big deal. It's just a regular ESPN article that I was reading from. It's not like it had Miami bias and it was some Miami press guy that was writing it. Like, this is just from ESPN writing this. And the ESPN guy says Miami is the definite favorite to land Beck. So we'll see, man. I don't think that Carson Beck is a game changer. I think that he's more of a game manager. And once again, it really concerns me that he had all that talent around him, excellent offensive line, had an excellent defense that could give him the ball back in excellent field position consistently, had receivers all over the place that were just NFL caliber receivers, tight ends, NFL caliber tight ends, running backs going to the NFL, all that talent around him, and he could barely do better than a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. That's a major concern. So let me know y'all's thoughts, man. Are you excited about the potential of landing Carson Beck? I'm super interested to know what y'all think about it. I already made this point, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And now that we're most likely going to land him, my integrity is not going to allow me to change my perspective on that. I wasn't excited about landing him then, and I'm not head over heels about it today. I do know, though, that it would be an upgrade. So, all right, that's all that I got for you today. I appreciate you watching the video. Please do like the channel, subscribe to the channel, like the video, do all the fun things, right? You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I truly appreciate that. So take care. God bless and peace.